There's a very interesting new study called Chronic Low-Calorie Sweetener Use and Risk of Abdominal Obesity Among Older Adults. This is by Chia, Shardell, Tanaka, and others. And what this study looked at was, let's look at people who use low-calorie sweeteners instead of sugar. And let's look at whether that's actually something that correlates with more effectively controlling weight measured by abdominal obesity. And what the study did, it was a longitudinal study. It looked at thousands and thousands of measurements and food diary records with detailed information on sugar versus low-calorie sweetener consumption, et cetera, et cetera. They had a median follow-up time of 10 years. I won't get into every detail about the study, but needless to say, we are linking to it and you can check it out. And what the study determined was that low-calorie sweetener use was independently associated with heavier relative weight, a larger waist, and a higher prevalence and incidence of abdominal obesity, suggesting that low-calorie sweetener use may not be an effective means of weight control relative to sugar use. Now, number one, correlation versus causation. One might read the study and say, oh, well, you use low-calorie sweeteners instead of sugar, and you end up heavier or more overweight. That's not what the study is saying. What it's saying is that those who use low-calorie sweeteners instead of sugar tend to have a higher BMI or be more obese. But that isn't necessarily because of the sweetener use, right? And the study says that they controlled for other variables, because what we really need to determine is, are individuals who are already heavier, more obese, more likely to use low-calorie sweeteners than sugar, but that's not actually why they are obese. So that's, I think, a very, very fair question. But my thing has always been, Pat, use a little sugar or get used to not using sugar. So like, for example, with coffee, I used to put quite a bit of sugar in my coffee. And my mom, for example, uses a ton of artificial sweetener. And I said, it doesn't really make sense to me. I think I'm just going to start putting in less sugar into my coffee. And I got used to that. And now I don't drink coffee with sugar at all. That seems more logical to me than just making things super sweet with artificial sweeteners, which many of which have been shown to not be healthy.
I think a lot of people just go to these options, things like diet soda, Splenda, Equal, because they think it's the healthier alternative.
Yeah.
And their doctors may tell them to embrace a low sugar diet, and they think, well, I don't have to give up these drinks that I like. I can still continue to have them.
It can still be sweet.
Healthier.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we saw this phenomenon with the so-called low-fat snack craze, where you had cookies that were low-fat, but instead had other chemicals in them, where you saw other types of snacks that were low-fat, potato chips that were low-fat, et cetera, et cetera. Number one, it's unclear that the replacement of those fats with chemicals and other substances is not worse for you. And additionally, we know that people tend to overindulge in foods that they perceive to be healthier. I don't remember if it was Snackwell's or what experiment was done, some kind of low-fat cookie. And people would just eat way, way more because they were like, hey, it's low fat. I can eat twice as much.
Yeah, I think it's more of a marketing thing than in any interest in protecting people's health.
Yep, I totally agree with you. And very, very similar findings. Bottom line, if you're having a weight issue, it's far healthier to, for example, ditch the soda altogether than switching from 2 Cokes a day to 2 Diet Cokes a day. If you are looking to reduce the amount of sugar you're consuming, I would say get used to stuff being not as sweet, as opposed to switching to Equal or Splenda or whatever artificial sweetener it is that you're using. And the science does seem to bear that out.